David is doing live what you guys should definitely be doing, right? Repurposing all the content that you have. Stars, yeah, I saw you on mute.
Thank
No, I
you.
was going to say,
And
are we going to be able to see you, David, or where are you live? Where are you streaming?
well, the stream has already started, and yes, that we're going to stream on YouTube and also my Facebook group. So welcome everybody to Path to Mastery podcast. We are live now. And yes, we'll be live on YouTube as well as, which my YouTube channel is David I. Hill. Super easy. So thank you for asking the question. And today we're going to talk about, like I said, something that I was asked recently to talk about, which is getting what you're worth, or high ticket sales. Like, and again, I believe high ticket sales is just perspective, right? So for me, high ticket sales, $5,000 a month coaching clients. Okay, yeah, that's high ticket sales for some of us. But if you go to Grant Cardone, then that's not high ticket sales because his people pay him, $100,000 a year for coaching, or like Tony Robbins. Excuse me, Tony Robbins as an example. Same thing. He charges $1 million a year to coach somebody a one-on-one. So I mean, when you think about high ticket, it's all just perspective. That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. Any of us can increase your price. I promise you, if I can increase my price, then anybody can. And this is not something that happened overnight. And so I'm going to go through. If you guys want to follow along with me on, like I said, I'm on YouTube, which is David I. Hill on YouTube, or David Hill Coach, I believe will bring you to the same place. Or if we're friends on Facebook and you're part of our community, I have a Facebook group as well. But let me do this. I'm going to share my slide, and because I always start, and some of you guys saw my presentation in Dallas, and I always start with the same slide, which is a Zig Ziglar quote, which is, if you help enough people get what they want, then you can have whatever it is you want. I'm a firm believer of that. I think, there was a conversation on this app yesterday about, getting, it was about money really. And somebody was making some statements about, it's not about the money. And, a lot of people disagreed, and it's not all about the money, but in business, and the reason this came up was because the context was about business. And business is all about profit. It is about profitability, and it's about money. If you're running a business, that's the purpose of a business, right? Is profit. So you just, and again, I'm not saying like, hey, don't worry about money. You don't need money. And because you do, right? Ramon talked about this morning as well. Try. I know, because I grew up poor, Angelina and I were talking a little bit longer. We grew up really, really poor in the projects of New York. My family spent time living in a car. So we didn't have money. Something a lot of people don't know about me. My dad used to bring me into convenience stores, and I would steal stuff and go out. Like that's literally how I grew up. So we didn't have money. So money is very important. So as I've gotten older and I started to be around money and we started to make money, then I really start to appreciate that. And I want to talk to you about this topic today, is getting what you're worth. You get what you're worth. You understand what I'm saying? And it starts with believing in yourself. Okay. And I got nothing. There's nothing wrong. Listen, no, I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to skip it. So I'm going to jump to if you're following me on the slides, family first. I always, when I teach, for me, I'm a family man. I think most of you guys know that. I have 3 daughters. I have an amazing wife. I spend a lot of time with my family. I took the weekend off. We went to Maine for a couple of days. We came back. It pours. It's been raining all weekend. It's crazy. Actually, it was nice the day we're in Maine. But for me, it's like I work hard so that I can spend time with my family, do things with my family, enjoy my life, right? And that's why I do what I do. There's an old quote. It says the purpose of business is to fund the perfect life, right? Like the purpose of working really, really, really hard is what? Not so I can die with a lot of money in the bank. No, it's so that I can live a great life. I can enjoy myself. I can provide for my family, my kids, my my children, my wife, myself experience things, right? Like one of the coolest things about people like Grant and people at that level is the experiences they're creating for themselves. So for me, it's all about family first. So, and I've been in sales 35 years. 35 years in the sales trenches. I started in a Kirby call center. Anybody else? Any other Kirby peeps in the house? You guys know what I'm talking about? You remember Kirby? Anybody else with Kirby? If you know Kirby, feel free to drop it in the chat, a K or on mic, whatever you want. I know usually there's at least one or two others. Come on, there's got to be someone in here, right? It's got to be someone else in here. But anyway, either way, listen, that's where I started. It was a tough gig. Okay, tough gig. I was 17 years old. I'm cold calling people, asking them if they're interested in buying a $1,500 vacuum cleaner. Let's just say it did not go extremely well for me, but it was where I learned to deal with rejection. It was where I learned that sales is a numbers game. Okay, and in 1989, I went to work for a publishing company, and I literally, through using the telephone, through cold calling, telephone books, and trade magazines, I was able to establish clients, AT&T, Verizon, Benjamin Moore, so many other clients like that, literally just from cold calling, door knocking, going business to business. Hey, my name's David. I'm with Condo Media Magazine and blah, blah, blah. We can get you in front of decision makers in these condo associations, and literally built a regional magazine, door knocking, in cold calling. Okay. And then I did that until 2002. And one day my daughter, Jacqueline, came home and she said, Dad, Beth makes a lot of money selling real estate. You should get your real estate license. And I was like, do I not make money? Like, anyway, so it was just like, what? Like, okay. Didn't think anything of it, to be honest with you. I was like, okay, that was kind of a weird thing to say, right? I didn't say that to her, but that's what I was thinking. She was 10 years old at the time. And then the next morning I woke up and it was on my mind to get my real estate license. How crazy is that? You guys tracking with me? Angeline, Megan? Like, I was like, wow, it was on my mind. So I went and I looked into it and I got my real estate license. 6 months later, I had my real estate license. Okay. And I joined a team. And the team I joined, he taught me to go, like, literally first day in the office. We were in the newspaper real estate sections calling for sale by owners. I'm not like literally first day calling for sale by owners and setting appointments. That's where I started with my real estate career. And then, and then in 2000, I let's just say I did good. Okay. I didn't get rookie of the year. I was tied with rookie of the year my first year, which was kind of weird. I thought I should have got it, but I was tied with somebody else, which was cool. Still cool. I closed 42 transactions. And then it just blew up. It just, I took all my obsessive compulsiveness that I used for everything else I did in my life, before, and I just put it all into real estate, and I just went all in, and it was awesome. It was awesome. And in 2006, my office said, hey, David, we'd like to have you start teaching for us. Would you be willing to teach this class? And if you're following along, that's actually a picture of one of our offices where I taught at, and you can see, there were a bunch of people there. But, I started teaching these classes, and I was not very good at it, to be honest with you. I was probably horrible. I would probably cringe now if I went back and saw some of those old events, but it's, I did what I could. Right. And I remember the first time I was nervous too, man, but but I showed up and I did it, and I didn't get anything. And I kept showing up, and I enjoyed doing it. So I'd go to another Keller Williams office in like Cape Cod, and I would teach a class for free. And then I'd go to another Keller Williams office and I'd teach. And I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. This is amazing. And I enjoyed it. I really did. And then what happened is I got involved in Keller Williams leadership, and they introduced me to this right here. And by the way, in the chat, if you're familiar with the 80-20 principle, The 80-20. This was when I took this course called Recruit Select. And it was by Gary Keller, and it was because I needed to hire talent for my team at the time. I needed to hire some talent. So I took this course called Recruit Select, and that was when I was introduced to the 80-20 principle. By the way, if you're familiar with it, 80-20 principle, in the chat, drop a Y if you are, and N if you're not. The 80-20 principle. Yes, indeed, Professor. I love it. So essentially what it's saying is that 20% of the things that we do, 20% of our efforts will reduce 80% of our results. Okay, this is extremely important to understand now. If you're going back to the topic, get what you're worth, get your value. Okay, 20% of your efforts are going to produce 80% of your results. So the question really comes down to now is, okay, great. What do I do with that, right? Well, what you do with it is you first have to figure out, what are my 20% tasks? What are the things that I could focus on now that would get me my 80%? So if I go back to my real estate, back then I was, we were selling a lot of real estate. We were selling at the time about 75 houses a year. And, I was doing a lot of stuff. I was doing my signs. I was taking the pictures. I was setting up the MLS form. I was the everything guy. I was working with buyers, and I hired one of my first coaches in 2009. And this is my first 20%. And what we did was we made a decision, and this is the hard part with the 20%. But before I go there, I'd love to find out if is there any, well, you know what, let me give you the example first. That makes more sense. So one of the first 20% for me at the time, and this was not easy, is I just made a decision that I personally was not going to work with buyers anymore. Meaning I was not, like David Hill, I was only going to focus on the listing side of my business, which made a lot of sense, right? Like if you think about, like, logically, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. You only focus on listings, but the challenge with it is is you have to give up all the buyers. Like you have to say no to the buyers was the challenge. I was like, oh, that's not easy. But I'll tell you what, I did it. And it was the first game changer for me. And if for any real estate agents out there, why I'm talking about this, because when you're working with buyers, it's like I couldn't take a weekend off when I was working with buyers, because that's when they go out and look at houses. I could work with one or maybe two buyers at a time because it's taking all my time. But when I list properties now, what I can do is I can go out there and I can list a house, I can put it on the MLS, and then I can go list another house and I can put it on and then I can go to the beach and my houses are listed and still other people are showing them. And I was like, wow, look at the leverage on this side of the business. Now, almost instantly, my business jumped from 75 transactions all the way up to 95, 96, 98 transactions. It was crazy. So I actually stopped doing something which increased my business. It was wild. That was in 2009. Okay, then the next big change for me in 2012, my next, because I told you I was teaching. I was going around. Besides, and now the good thing was I had hired a buyer's agent. So I had somebody else running my buyer department, this kid named Justin Jarbo, great guy. He did amazing at it. And so it gave me more time to go off and do what I actually loved doing, which was teaching. I was teaching other agents how to get listings. But the thing was, I wasn't really I shouldn't say really, I wasn't being paid anything. I was just doing it because I enjoyed doing it. And I remember the first time I got paid, it was Dan Gervais, really good guy. I don't know if he listens to my podcast, still hear his name. But I don't know if he even knows this, but he's a great guy out in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and they paid me with a hotel room. And I remember my wife V she's downstairs. We were like, I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, we made it to big time. They bought me a hotel room you know, and they actually bought, I think they bought dinner the night before. Like I finally got paid to teach, and I was so, and Dan, no disrespect, but it was literally like a Red Roof Inn. It wasn't like they set me up at the Ritz-Carlton or anything. But we were so excited. And then the next day I went and I taught the class, and I went home. So in 2012, I made a decision that I wanted to take my teaching to the next level. My teaching. So I went out and I decided I'm going to become a Keller Williams University instructor, which in order to do that, there's a process. Okay. There was at the time, I think there were about 140,000 agents at Keller Williams. So not a small company, right? 140,000. And there were 110 certified. I'm not talking about the person that teaches at the office like I was doing. Like there's thousands of those people that teach at the office. No, I'm talking about the people that go and get certified through Keller, and then they go through a certification, and then you're what's called a KWU instructor. So I went through that. The first time I showed up, I was all pumped up. I planned, I went out there, I was ready for my presentation. I showed up in the room. I get in front of the room, and I was ready. Like I had prepared for like at least 6 months, because I've always been a scripts guy. For people that know me, you guys know I'm a like, I recite my scripts. I know my scripts. I should have been an actor, right? Like but I can do that. But so I show up and I get in the room, and holy it's I almost swore. It's on the panel is Rick Giha, Antoinette Perez. What's his name? I can't think of the other guy's name. The guy that taught me to smile. I can't think of his name right now. He used to always say, "You need to smile more. You need to smile more." He like taught me to smile. Everybody compliments me on my smile now when I teach or I do stuff online, because it's because of him. But I can't remember. How can I not remember his name? It'll come to me. But they were on the panel, and I was like, "Oh my God. Holy cow." Like, you ever feel like the air just gets sucked out of you? Like, oh gosh, I've got to present in front of these guys now. Like all my idols, the top presenters in the company are all sitting here. And I just got so nervous and got so in my head and just bombed. It was so bad. Like I had a back then, like some of you, I had a Versace gray with white pinstripe suit. I'm being serious. This is how I dress. I also had a gold Rolex. I had a Yacht Master. Okay. This is, this is what I knew. I didn't know any better. Right. So I was dressed to, I don't know what I was dressed to do. I don't dress like that anymore, but nothing wrong with if you dress like that. But, and nothing wrong with having a gold Yacht Master Rolex. Now I don't have the gold one anymore. I just have the silver. I just use it. I forget what I even have right now. It's really nice, but it's not gold. But anyway, nothing wrong with gold. I love gold. Gold's great. But the point I'm trying to make is I was all dressed for the part, but in my head, I just got super nervous, bombed, like literally blacked out. Like I think I sweated all the way through the Versace suit, like full body sweat, like right through this. It was a disaster, as worse as it can get. I left, head down. I'm never doing that again. Call my wife. Oh my God, you don't want to believe what just happened. I'd fly home because now listen, I have to fly to Austin, Texas to do this. It wasn't like I drove somewhere. Like, you got to go to Austin, Texas to do this. So I get home next day. I'm telling them I'm not doing that again. She's like, "You can do it, hon." So anyway, a couple weeks later, I calmed down a little bit. I said, "You know what? I'm going to try that again." So then I go out. Now this, by the way, guys, this happens every 6 months. This is not like every week I can go out there. This happens every 6. So 6 months goes by. I'm prepared again. I go out there. I'm all excited. I got my suit. I got, I'm ready to go. I got my scripts. I'm like, and I get in the room, and I'm more prepared now. And it was a different, a couple of the same people were there, but it was different people. And I got nervous, but I got through it, and I did better. But they said, "You know what? You still need more development. We can't let you through yet." And I was like, "Oh gosh." So I left. I went back home. And I said, "I'm going to do it again." Now, remember, this is every 6 months I get to do this, and I have to fly out to Austin, Texas on my own dime. So anyway, 6 months later, I go out there, I get there, I go in front of the room the third time, and I did it. I got through. It was like, yes, amazing. I got through. And then I went back, and now I'm like, all right, I'm KWU certified. KWU certified. I was so proud. There was at the time 100, I think there were like 160,000 agents at the, like, think about the size of this company. 160,000. No, maybe at that time there weren't that many. Maybe there was 140 at that time. I mean, they grew up to almost 180,000 at one point. Maybe it was 140. And I was one of 120 KWU certified trainers that could go around the country and teach in any region and get paid. And here was the pay. $2,500 for an event. What? Are you kidding me? I could make $2,500 for a 2-day event. I thought I hit the big time. Because you remember I shared earlier, right? A year and a half before, man, my wife and I were excited because I got paid the Red Roof Inn. Somebody paid for my stay at the Red Roof Inn. And now I could make $2,500 for an event. And I did that, and I loved it. I was doing it, and my business was running, and I was traveling around the country, and I was teaching at different regions, and it was fun. Maryland and where else? Florida. We went to Florida, went to Boca, went to Austin, Texas a couple times. I was going everywhere, right? It was awesome. It was fun. I felt like a rock star. I'd go and teach, and I'd go in there. There'd be 150 people in a room, 200 people in a room, and I'd teach the listing stuff. And loved it. And I'd get $2,500 in plus travel. And what I realized after a while was like, holy cow. Although I'm making $2,500 plus travel, I'm actually losing money because I'm away from my business for 3 days or 4 days in some cases. Like right back to the 80-20 thing. Although I love doing this, like I actually make more money when I'm in my business, but I actually, I kind of enjoy doing this more, like, but anyway, that it kind of clicked. So I said, wow, this is interesting. So I needed to, again, make another one of those 80-20 shifts. And the next one happened. So by the way, by the time I did get certified, it was the end of 2013 at Keller Williams. So then in 2014, I decided, okay, I've got to make another shift in my business. So we were selling homes in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is where I grew up. And the average sale price at the time was around $275,000. And, I had been selling homes there. I got my real estate license in 2002. So, I was 12 years in. I was the top guy. And, I was always one of the top three. It was me, Lee Joseph. There were a couple. There was, I forget who else was, what's his face there? Another guy, Realtor. There was always there was like 5 of us that were always in like the top 5 in the MLS, right? And all different companies. And I says, you know what? This whole $275,000 thing is not working anymore. I'd gone to this event and with John Alexandrov out in Florida, and it was a mastermind, and there were all these realtors from all over the country, and we did this exercise, and I've shared this exercise on here in Breakfast of Champions before. And the exercise was I had to figure out my hourly rate. And when I sat down and I looked at my hourly rate, what I realized is, my hourly rate, I don't remember the exact same number, maybe it was like $200 an hour, which, I guess is not terrible, for some. But what I realized were there other people in the room that were doing the same thing as me that weren't as talented, were just, weren't any more, I shouldn't say weren't as talented, weren't any more talented than I was. Certainly wasn't any better looking than me, right? And didn't have any more skills, weren't better with people, none of it. But they were making literally 2-3 times what I was making. Why? Because of the focus, because of the 80-20 principle, because they had leverage, and my friends, because they were selling, instead of selling $275,000 homes, they were selling $500,000 homes or $600,000 homes. And that to me was another one of those wake up calls. Like, wow, you mean I could just increase my average sales price and make twice as much money without doing any more work? It was like a light bulb, another, I'm trying to snap my fingers. Another light bulb moment went off for me. So what we did was we moved our team from Worcester to Westboro, which was only 8 miles down the road. Like, I'm like, okay, this is going to 12 years in the same place. We're going to move our team 8 miles down the road. Holy cow. Was that a lot of work? I just thought, oh man, I remember back at the time I was introduced to Grant Cardone's book, The 10X Rule. I didn't know Grant like I do today, but I heard of his book, and the premise of the book is shit's going to be 10 times harder than you plan. Just remember that. It's everything I'm talking about right now. Like, it might sound simple to some of you, but it's always 10 times harder than you plan, right? And that's the gift. That's the gift. Because if it was easy, then anybody could do this. So anyway, we move our team way harder to break into this market than we thought. Okay, but you know what we did? I thought it was going to take us 5 months. It took us a year and a half, and we finally started taking listings, and we increased our average sale price. So for purposes of time, I'm going to keep moving forward. Okay, but I want to bring you back to where I started. All right, I'm going to jump forward. All right, because all I'm sharing with you are moments in my trajectory, my business trajectory, where I used the 80-20 principle to increase what I was doing, right? To get better result. So again, if you go back to Zig, help enough people get what they want, and you can have whatever it is you want. Help enough people get what they want. So 2020, well, big year for a lot of us, right? Like, COVID hit a lot. Like, COVID was a game changer for pretty much everybody. How it affected me is I was selling real estate, and houses got shut down for the most part, right? Like, all of a sudden, you're going on listing appointments, you're meeting with people, and now you can't do that. And I get it. Everybody was affected by it. So it made me have to change a lot of the stuff I was doing. And even after, 6 months, things changed a little bit, and we kind of figured out ways to sell houses. But I still had that itch from, remember I said I was at that Keller Williams University instructor, and I loved teaching and training and doing that. I still had that itch. So I went back and I looked at, okay, maybe now is the time to transition. And so what I did was I got myself involved. I started listening to Joe Polish's Genius. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Joe Polish. They have a podcast called I Love Marketing. And so I was introduced to that, and I started following that, and I joined Genius Network. I joined Genius Network in, I think it was 2000. I'm not sure if it was like 2020 into 2000. I don't remember the exact year. It was like, I think I joined like in the middle of the year or something. And what that did though for me was it put me in a room of people. And by the way, it costs $25,000 a year to be a member of Genius. It was the first time I ever invested $25,000 in myself. So another takeaway from this talk today. This is a big one. Okay, this is a huge one. If you've never invested $25,000 in yourself, nobody will ever invest $25,000 in you. If you've never invested $5,000 in yourself, nobody will ever invest. You can't even ask somebody. Morally, you can't. Okay, your integrity. It's internally. You're not gonna be able to do it. Something doesn't work, right? If you're selling a product for $1,000, which is not a lot of money. If you're selling a product for $1,000 right now, and you've never bought a product for $1,000, you're gonna have a problem selling that. Forget about $25,000, $1,000. So the first thing you got to do is you got to get out there and you got to invest in yourself. Okay, so this is where I learned to start investing in myself. So I wrote the check for $25K. I joined Genius. And when I went in there, I was like, holy cow. these guys charge, like I was charging $1,000 a month for coaching. That's what that's what Keller Williams charged. That's what real estate agents were accustomed to paying. It was kind of like the standard going rate. These guys were charging $10,000 a month. 10,000. I was like, holy cow, 10,000 a month. That's insane. And then I'm listening to the prices. Oh, you want us to come in and do an event? 25,000, 35,000, 40,000. I was like, wow, insane. Now I'm around all these people that are doing this, and I'm feeling like, I'll be honest with you, I'm feeling a little bit of an inferiority complex, right? I know we were talking about limiting beliefs on Saturday, and little like, man, I don't know if I can charge that much, but I did pay the 25 to get in, so I was on my way, right? And I did Genius Network. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I did it for a year, and then in 2021, I made a switch. I switched to Grant because for whatever reason, I found this app. I think a lot of us found this app in 2020. I think it was 2021, and I that's how I got connected to Grant. Like I knew who he was before the app, but that's how I got connected to him. And then I joined his it was at the time it was called the licensee program. Again, 25,000. Here's the cool thing about that is the second, like to write the check for Grant for 25,000 was so much easier than it was to write the check for Genius Network for 25,000. Why? Because I'd already written a check for 25,000. So now all of a sudden I built up a little bit of a tolerance to being able to do that. I hope this is resonating, making sense to a lot of you guys. Cause we're talking about getting what you're worth, and you're only going to get what you believe you can get. And here's the thing, listen to this. And well, let me go back to this for a second. The thing at Grant, that Grant and Elliot, specifically Elliot, I've had a lot more interaction with Elliot than I have Grant. Elliot runs his licensee programs. He kept saying, you have to increase your prices. You have to increase your prices. You have to ask for more. You got to increase. They just kept saying it to me over and over. And I was like, I don't know. Like, oh gosh, I got these clients. I don't think they'll pay it. And see, that's not the point. What my clients will pay is not my point. That doesn't determine my pricing. Because here's the good news is there's 8 billion people out there. And this is what I've learned is, and I heard Kim Walsh Phillips say this in here, I don't know when it was, 6 months ago. She said, your current client may not be the right client or something to that extent, right? Like the people that I'm working with now may not be the right fit. I'm going to switch out too at the top. I want to give you guys access to my, I have a website, or it's a link tree, and it's Davidhill.link. If somebody could help me just throw that up at the top, that'd be great. My normal link is Davidhill.link. If anybody could help with that, that'd be amazing. www.davidhill.link at the top, because I want you guys to be able to go to my link tree. But what I want you to realize is where I was going with that is at the time I had a membership that, by the way, John Lee helped me build. I followed John Lee's model. And you know what? I'll just put it myself then. Hold on a second. So this is good because I keep getting to say this over and over again. By the way, we're live recording for a podcast. So www.davidhill.link, LINK. That'll bring you to my link tree, which shows you all of the offerings that we have. Okay. So one of the things that Grant and his team kept doing is telling me, you have to increase your prices. You have to increase your price. You have to ask for more. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm like, I'm not sure. But you know what? But what ended up happening is I actually, well, I'll get back to that in a minute. The number one rule of sales. I'm going to share with you the number one rule in sales. Number one, first and foremost. Some of you guys already know the answer to this, but I'm going to give you a different spin on it today, is you can only sell to the extent that you are sold. You can only sell, as a matter of fact, you should all write this down. You should only sell to the extent that you are sold. You need to understand this. This is critical. If you're not sold on something, you cannot sell it. If you've never invested in something, you are not going to be able to get somebody else to invest in you. There's an incongruency, and you don't even know why you're struggling, but you deep down, you can't. You have to be 100% all in. I remember when I joined Grant, one of the things I did right after we wrote the check for 25K. I had worked, spoke with my wife. She's okay with it. And then I did the signature talk with Pat Quinn. Oh God, what a good event that was. That was 10K. And then I did the signature talk again. I was like, that was so good. Let's do it again. And then we did the GrowthCon tickets. And I spent about 70 grand total that year on events. But you know what happened is my business doubled. See, this is the challenge. I think a lot of us, we're not willing to make that investment in ourselves. We're not willing to invest that money in ourselves. You have to. So if you're following on the slide, here's some of the things that I've invested in. Genius Network, Grant Cardone's different events, Pat Quinn, John Maxwell, right? I did all the John Maxwell stuff in the past. That was back in my real estate days when I realized I needed help. I was a good salesman, but I was a horrible leader. Like I couldn't lead people. People would quit. Right? Like I was just not a very good leader. Nobody taught me leadership skills. I could cold call with the best of them, but try running a team. That was different. Right? So I had to work on that. I had to fix that. So I'm going to bring it to get it as we're getting closer because wow, it's 10:12. So when I first jumped in with Grant, I had a real estate community. It's called realestateuniversity.club. And I basically copied John Lee's club, right? JL.club, realestateuniversity.club, any similarities. And I started building it out. And it started in 2021. And, I started, it was $47 a month. And I kept, and here's how easy it was. I just kept any question that real estate agents would ask me, I would go create a video about. So if somebody says, hey, what do you say to for sale by owners? I'd say, okay, great. Go create a video, include a script, an email template, everything. And that would be a section in my membership. And so we did that and we charged $47 a month for that. And I actually ended up getting all the way up to 81 clients. And I was like, oh, I don't know, this $47 a month thing's kind of a pain in the butt. And, I got these clients and I got like, literally I had people like these whiny, some of, not all of them, some of these whiny little, is giving me a hard time and thinking like I need to get on a phone call with them at 10 o'clock at night because they're giving me $47 a month. And I was like, this is friggin' nuts. This is crazy. So anyway, long story short, I made some adjustments and we increased the price to $97. So right, just by doing that, I lost a few of them. And then we jumped it up to $197 a month. And then I lost more, right? And now that with not the same, because now we have over 300 lessons and I've even scaled back. Think about this. At $97 a month, I was doing calls every day. Monday through Friday, I do a daily call. Right now, we're $297 a month, and I do 2 calls a week plus an office hours. Think about this. It's less time, 3 times as much money, and here's the wildest thing. I only have 31 clients, or 30. I'm sorry, we have 32 clients right now. So do the math. 81 clients, $47 a month is $3,400. 32 clients, $297 a month is $9,500. Less time, less headaches, less credit cards being declined, less people thinking like I owe them something because they're giving me $97 a month. It was insane. 80-20 principle. Now, listen, this is my low ticket product. This is the lowest ticket thing I have. Okay. And I get it. I'm not telling anybody you're wrong if you have $97 events or $57, whatever it is. That's fine. I'm just telling you what I've gone through. This is my low ticket. So you want to get involved in our ecosystem as a real estate agent? Great. This is the best $297 you'll ever spend in your entire life. I promise you. I wish somebody had something like this when I was coming up in real estate. All right. But this was a game changer for me. Now, if you go to my coaching, which is Davidhill.com, used to charge $1,000 a month. Thought it was a big deal. 4 calls. Right? We could still do better on this. Right now, individuals are $21.97 for 4 40-minute calls. Not, better. Not where I want to be yet. Not to Genius Network yet. But here's the cool thing is we have the $5,000 a month product. So which is closer. So what Grant and Elliot kept saying is you got to have that on your website. You got to have that on. I'm like, I don't know, man. Nobody's going to buy that. It's too high. They said, it doesn't matter, man. Just get it on your friggin' website and be confident about it. So I put it on my website and I'm meeting with people and it's like, okay, what do you got? What do you got? And I'm like, well, I got these are my 4 different options here. You guys can go to Davidhill.com and check it out if you want. And I'd say, I got this. And then I got this individual, which is $21.97. And I got the team access, which is $39.97. And I got the one-on-one $60,000 annual or $5,000 a month. Or you can prepay. You can prepay $50K one payment. And people are like, oh my God, that's expensive. Okay, no problem. So what did I do? I went back to my 80-20. And I did better at who I would get on those calls with. Because I realized that not everybody should be on this call with me. Because again, I'm not saying for anybody else. I'm talking about myself. I have nothing less to sell you than $297 a month. So there's going to be people that, and to me, that's just our membership. That's free with everything else. So you got to be in a place where you can spend at least to get on 2 calls with me, $1,300 a month. Right. And I'm okay. Here's the gift. What I learned, and this goes back to, and here's a couple great book recommendations. First off, Gary Keller's book, The One Thing. This will help you understand the 80-20 rule at a deeper level. That's a great book. Also, there's a new book by Ben Hardy called 10X is Easier Than 2X. Oh God, such a good book. Such a good one too. When what I realized is that not everybody's, I'm not supposed to be on calls with everybody. Y'all know this. I don't have to get on calls with everybody. Most people are not my avatar. They're not my client persona. They're not going to give me that. I don't need to talk to everybody. I need to talk to the people that want what I have, that see the value in what I have. And they're out there. That's the coolest thing. I have people going to the site and saying, I don't know, 5,000 is a little more than I want to spend. Let's go with the 2197. And I remember the first time someone did that, I'm sitting there on Zoom and I'm saying to myself, don't say anything. Like, cause I'm like nervous, like, just keep, don't smile. Just ask for the credit card, cause I was like, holy shit, someone's going to pay me. I'm sorry, I don't mean to swear because I know we're in a breakfast with champ, but this is what was going on in my head. And all of a sudden, I've got multiple people paying me that. It's frigging awesome. And the coolest thing about it is to them, it's worth it. I got on a call with someone and this was a real estate agent. He sold a $2 million home. His average sale price was $2 million. Means he made about $40,000 on a closing. And we were talking about a $2,500 workshop. And he's saying, well, I don't know, it's kind of expensive. And I'm like, all right, man, you told me this is the area you need help in, right? And he's like, yeah. I said, okay, great. If you got help in that area, how many more homes do you think you would sell? He goes, oh my God, I probably would have sold a 5 or 6 extra homes last year. Okay, great. So your average sale price is $40,000. That's $200,000. So let's just say you only sell 1 home. Let's just say you fall short and only sell 1. That means that the $2,500 you just invested here, you just got a 20x investment on that. Does that seem like a good deal? Oh, and by the way, you have these skills for the rest of your life. He said, okay, sign me up. That's it. This is not complicated, because what I do is specialty. I'm not talking to somebody about life coaching. Okay. I'm not a life coach, by the way, just an FYI. I can do it. I was trained as it. It's just not what I'm a strategy coach. We're going to look at your business. We're going to look at your sales process. Right? This is what I'm talking about at the beginning. Like, you got to be good at what you do. You got to be confident at what you do. All right? The people that work with me, they don't usually come in like, hey, they're like, okay, I'm doing what I need to see. And don't get me wrong. There's definitely a place for life coaching. I think we all could use some life coaching, right? But the people that are coming to me, it's like not all, but most of them, like, they just looking for different strategies and ways to increase their sales process and what they're doing to generate leads and to convert leads and have a system in place for conversion. It's specialty. So that's why, and again, I'm just getting started, my friends. I'm just getting started. Like, the prices you see now are going to be, I promise you, they're going to be 10x this price a year from now. Right. I'm going right there. There's no reason, if there's people out there that can do it, if there's people out there that can get paid $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month, then I can get paid $10,000 or $20,000 a month. And there's people out there. And here's the coolest thing that I learned recently. And then I'm gonna open it up for questions. I went a little longer than I planned, but I'm gonna open it up for questions in a minute, or comments. When I was in Genius Network, there were people that, if I told them I charged $2,200 a month for coaching, they would write me off and say that's too low. Like, to them, there's no perceived value. Like, literally, legit. We were at Grant's office. There was a guy there that came over from Saudi Arabia. He paid $200,000 to have his Bentleys and Rolls Royce shipped over here. I want you to realize there's people out there with those kind of resources. So what you got to get first is the fact that money is abundant. It's everywhere. And you're going to attract to you what you believe, what you deserve, what you believe, right? That's why I said earlier, you can only sell to the extent that you are sold on yourself. So you want to increase your prices? Go invest in yourself first. You can invest with me if you want, or don't. If you don't, some people are like, man, you're just too direct and to the point. Yep, that's me. That's why I get paid what I get paid. The people that hire me, they want this. They want some, like Dre. I think Dre and I are very similar. Like, I like Dre. I could use Dre. I would hire Dre as a coach, because that's what I need. But that doesn't work for everybody, right? Like that's how I am too. I'm similar. So that's the point. We got to be okay with that. I'm not the one for everyone. I'm not one for many. That's where the riches are. Y'all heard that? The riches are in the niches. Everybody's heard that saying. All right. Anyway, man, I can go on with this all day. I'm not going to do that because it is a Monday, a holiday. Well, it's technically not a holiday. Tomorrow's a holiday, but I took it as a holiday. So I'm going to spend some time with my family. I just want to say thank you guys for listening to me. Wow, we did all right. The room actually grew as I was speaking. So try not to look at the numbers sometimes because it throws you off. And then I try to start to take it personal, and it's not even about that. So that said, we got about 6 minutes left. I will leave the podcast recording going. If anybody has any questions or comments, now is the time. And I'm just going to leave you with this, okay? 2 things. Number one is you can only sell to the extent that you are sold. You have to invest in yourself, okay? Yeah, this is why I think a lot of people on this app are selling. And again, no disrespect, but you're selling $27 products or $57 products or whatever it is. Yeah. Go out there. I'm done with that game. I did that game. I don't care. I don't care how many products. I'm a fan of John Lee, but he can sell his membership for $7 all day. That's cool. It's just not my game anymore. I choose not to do that. I'm going to turn down all the $7 because I want the people that are willing to pay me $5,000. So one, get your head right. And number two is you got to be on top of your game. You got to be on your game. If your game is not tight, then what I'm talking about, it don't matter anyway. Okay. You could have the best mindset in the world and you could have you could be the master of manifestation, right? But if your stuff is not good, it don't really matter. You may get one client, but that's it. So with that said, be on top of your game. Appreciate you guys. Help enough people get what they want. You can have whatever you want. I'm going to wrap there. We're going to stop sharing here and we're going to bring it back. And I hear an open mic.
David, before you go, I just wanted to ask you a question. This is Professor out of London, England. You said something very profound. I want to thank you for what you said about stepping up the game, that you got to get the $10,000 product before you attempt to sell it.
That's right.
What do you think shifted your mind? What shifted your mind after going on the high value programs and mentorship compared to when you were selling low entry level products?
Yeah, thank you, Professor. It was just being around those people. I think that's it. I'm to simplify it. We don't have a lot of time left, but just get around people that are doing it. Like literally, you're going to be, there's that old saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It is so true. Okay. Go hang out with people that are, having people pay them $10,000 a month for coaching. Before you know it, you'll be getting $10,000 a month. Go hang out with people that are paying, $50 a month. Then you're going to be at $50 a month. So a short answer to a great question is, I think you have to get yourself in the right environment first and stay in that environment. And I think that's the beginning. So thank you for the question. And it's access, right? Like the reason that we pay big money is access, right? Like 3 weeks ago, I got to sit in a room with Grant. Grant came in the room and sat with us for 3 hours and spoke with us. You don't get that access. Like people don't get that access unless you're willing to pay for it, right? A Genius Network. We get to go hang out with Peter Diamandis came in. I don't even know if you guys know who Peter Diamandis is. He came in and spoke with us because it's the access. It's the people you're around, right? Naveen Jain. I got to have lunch with Naveen Jain because I bought it. Naveen Jain is legit worth, I think, $6 billion. I have his cell phone number. I got to have lunch with him. Why? Because I bought a VIP ticket to an event. And it wasn't even a lot of money. It was like $2,500 ticket. Access. All right. I think we have time for maybe another 1 or 2 questions or maybe a takeaway. What y'all got? Let's go. All right. Well, listen, I want to thank you guys. Appreciate you guys.
David, I just want to say you are incredible about highlighting that the proximity is power. That was so cool. So just thank you for always pouring into us and reminding us that investing in yourself is so key to your own growth, right? So thank you for giving us a new way and perspective to see things, because sometimes we lose sight of that and we get so nervous about it, and taking that risk is can be scary, right? Can be scary. So thank you though. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Angeline, for being part of my podcast. Listen, you guys have listened to the Path to Mastery show. Please make sure you go to Davidhill.com. Check out all my good stuff, as well as Davidhill.link for all of our offerings. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you again next week.